Hi there, it's Beauty Junkie. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to get into multichromes and how to apply them, what they look like when they're swatched, and I'm going to show you these two eye looks. So if that sounds good to you, keep on watching. Alright, so I've done a couple of videos on Pat McGrath palettes, and so I want to kind of balance out my channel and include some indie brands. I don't know if you've heard, but Pat McGrath has a new palette coming out, and there is looks like a duochrome slash maybe a multichrome sort of shade, and a lot of people have talked about, well, that stuff's already out there, indie brands do those kind of shades, and I totally agree. You know, it's not a new thing. So I'm all for supporting whoever you want to support. If you like Pat McGrath, great. If you like indie brands, great. I think you should buy whatever looks good to you, no matter the brand that it is. So I just want to show you what I have. I only have like 4 multichromes, 3 true multichromes in my opinion, and they're all in the purple color family. But I just want to show you what it's like to apply them and how you kind of have to treat them differently. They're really beautiful, but they're not going to be for everyone. They're not like super simple to apply. They are a bit tricky, and they're not for every day. They're a bit of a fun color. They're a bit of a fun type of shadow. They're usually a bit shiny, a bit glittery. Just a warning. But you know, it's fun to have these shades, in my opinion, from time to time, to have them, to show them off, to do something different. I think they're really cool, and I think we're really lucky to be in a time where these kind of shadows exist. I mean, this stuff wasn't out and available like 5 years ago. So just think about that. Let's put it in perspective. I have a ton of single eyeshadows. I have some palettes, but mostly single eyeshadows in my collection. So that's what I'm going to dig into today. And I'm going to start with like a cool tone kind of crease colors. Untitled Cosmetics matte shade. I've used this quite a few times in my videos. This is calcination. This is just a matte kind of cool toned brown shadow that I'm going to apply into my crease just to get things started. And this is just a reminder for everyone that I am not a makeup artist, so you may not agree with how I am applying eyeshadow, but really this video is just to give you an idea of how these eyeshadows work, what they look like in a general sense. If you want to apply them a different way, that's great, but this will just give you an idea. And if you want to place them in a different part of your eye, that's great too. You know, I'm just being creative here, and there's a lot of different ways to do the same thing. So now that we have that on, I'm going to apply a bit of a cooler sort of mauve-y tone, and this is Anastasia Beverly Hills Blonde Fresco. So not an indie brand. I thought this was. I'm just grabbing the shades that I want. So sorry about that. And I'm just applying this on top. And I'm going to blend this out. Alright, here's the deal. I'm going to do, so I've done a video with me just pretty much swatching. I just did this video like a month or so ago, early on my channel, and some people watched it, some people made said comments like, this is weird or you're awkward. Fine, great. Totally. But I didn't spend a lot of time in that video actually applying the shades to my eyes. I just kind of did this and did this, but wasn't a real like makeup look, so that's what I want to do today. But I do want to again show you some swatches on my arm this time, not on my face. And I just want to show you the difference between a wet or dry application. So I'm going to start with Sydney Grace, and this is Twisted Shifter. Now the last time I looked on their website, this shade was not available, and I'm not sure the update on multichromes from Sydney Grace, if they're going to continue, if they're going to have a new launch. I have no idea, but this is what I have in my collection. I bought it last year, so it's really not that old, but with indie brands, restocking can be a lot slower than the bigger brands. That's just part of it. And that can be certainly true for some brands more than others, where if you don't get that product in the first 5 minutes of it coming out, you're not going to get it for months. That can definitely happen. Alright, so I'm going to swatch this dry with my finger. And the texture of these feels like really kind of rough and metallic. And that's just what the multichromes feel like. So this is dry. And you can see just how pigmented and beautiful and metal-like this shade is. So again, this is Twisted Shifter, and it's just got purple to sort of this green shift to it. And then right next to it, I'm going to swatch the same shade wet. So I'm just sprayed my finger with water, and I'm going to go back in. It's a little bit different, right? A little bit smoother, not as chunky in my opinion. See my finger? So that's the difference between wet and dry on that one. Now I'm going to move into a somewhat similar shade but different. This is Clionadh Cosmetics Smolder. And I'm going to go ahead, use a different finger and apply it dry. Now this brand is a little bit smoother to the touch. And there's the dry swatch. So you can see the different formulas of multichromes and how they look. So this is Smolder, really pretty shade, just beautiful swatch. And now we're going to do the same one, wet finger, go back in, and see what this looks like. Not too different. I would just say it just applies a little bit smoother. See that shift? Very similar shades, right? But just different formulation, different tone. And then my last real purple multichrome shade is also Clionadh Cosmetics. This is Flame Blown. Just a deeper purple color. And I'm gonna go in dry. Really pretty shade. And now I'm going to go in wet. Just so you know what I'm doing. Woo! With it wet, it just applies a little bit smoother. Maybe this one you can see things are a little bit richer and darker on the wet one. Those are my fingers. So these are my true multi-chrome shades that I own. I only really own 3. I have another sort of multi-chrome that I'll show you, but it's more of a highlighter shade. And the multi-chrome duochrome part of it is just not as obvious. But you can see the shift and as I move it in and out of the light. I think the wetness made more of a difference on the Sydney Grace Twisted Shifter shade. But that gives you a good idea of what to expect with a multi-chrome swatch. I'm going to show you my last sort of highlighter shade, and it's a little bit dug into. I apologize. This is also Clionadh. This is Luminaire. And it's basically a white shade with sort of a pink shift. You can't really see it that well in the pan. But I'm going to go ahead and swatch it dry. And we're going to go down here. And that is what it looks like. Not like really hard to see, right? I'm going to do that again. It's just, you can see it in person just fine. It's just harder on the camera in the light. But it's white and it shifts to pink and also kind of a gold. It's just a different formula that Clionadh has. Clionadh has a ton of different multi-chrome formulas and this is one of them. I don't have their new stuff just because I felt like I have a lot of eyeshadow and each one of these is a pretty penny. You know, you could buy 2 or 3 shades and you could pay the same amount of money for a full palette. So it's hard for me to justify buying a lot of multi-chromes when for me this is not something I'm going to be wearing a lot, but it's really hard not to be tempted to buy like the whole rainbow of them. Anyways, I'm going to apply that white shade wet and then we'll be done with our swatches. Maybe you can see some of that shift a little bit better with the wet one. I think I've applied this wet on my eyes and the pink stands out a little more when it's applied wet. And I think you can kind of see that in the light. Anyways, I'm going to try to apply all of these shades to my eyes somehow. We're going to see how this goes. As I said before, these formulas are a bit tricky, and I think once you figure it out, it's well worth it. And I think once you get them and you swatch them, you're going to be like, I have to figure this out. So I laid down my transition shades, and you're essentially going to apply these with the finger to get the best result. So I'm going to go in with the Sydney Grace Twisted Shifter one first, and we're going to apply this to this eye. And I'm going to try it dry first just to see what it looks like. And if I need to apply it wet on top, I'll do that. Sometimes it's hard to pick up the shift on camera, so a wet sort of application might be necessary. So I'm going to try my best to show you. So I think the best application for the shade just now was with the swipe rather than the tap, because I got some fallout. Certainly looks very metallic on the camera, but I want to just, for experiment's sake, try applying it wet on top of this. And it's probably going to look a little thick, but that's okay. So I'm just going to apply some water to my finger, go back into the pan. Alright, I think that's a little bit richer, a little more vibrant with the wet shade. You'll notice I'm applying this exclusively with my finger, and I touched the inner quarter of my eye, so now that part's got eyeshadow on it. Yeah. So I think the shade is pretty much laid down. I'm going to go into Luminaire and I'm going to apply it dry first in this inner corner, and then I'll show you wet how it looks. So you can see that sparkle, and you could certainly stop there. I'm a little heavy-handed as usual. Sorry, I'm a mess. So I'm gonna spray my brush with water, and we're gonna go back in and try this again. Not that I have to, just so you guys can see the maximum effect. So I'm not just doing inner corner, I did kind of inner like quarter of my eye as well. See, it's really pink, it's really shiny, it's got that iridescent finish. I think it's really pretty, but not necessarily has to be wet, but it does add a little bit more, I don't know, metallic gel-like finish that sort of matches with this other shade. So just for fun, I do want to complete this eye before I move on to the next. And I want to do kind of a more dramatic under eye. We're going super purple today, so my under eye I'm going to be doing Untitled Cosmetics Spirit. And this is a really pretty shade. It's not like the most rich shade, unfortunately, but I think it still works. If you wanted to make your life a whole lot simpler, just bring the multichrome under your eye. I just think it would be challenging to do that sort of level of detail with your finger. But you could do like a simpler, just a matte shade under your eye and don't take it up and around. Then you would avoid fallout and having to deal with blending. So I'm going to do this side a little bit differently. I'm going to do 2 multichromes. On this side. And on the inner part of my eye, my inner lid, I'm going to do Smolder, sort of a more pinkish tone. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go in dry with the finger. I think that's pretty much where I want my placement to be. And then we're gonna go back in wet, just for fun. So it definitely glided on a bit smoother. This is such a different texture. You might find it easier to apply it wet, and you may prefer the look of it wet anyway. So something to think about with application. And then I'm going to keep using my ring finger just because I feel like I have the most control. I'm going to clean that one off. And then I'm going to go in dry with Flame Blown, the deep purple. And we're going to do the outer part of my eye in that shade. So there's going to be a bit of an overlap. So a little bit more of a challenge to apply this one because I can't just go across and sweep. I have to sweep and stop to make sure I'm not extending too far. But I think, you know, fallout is to be expected with these shades. I mean, they are such a different texture. They're a different beast. I think they are well worth the fallout, personally, because the payoff on these is just so amazing, and these colors, I mean, they look so different. I'm really liking this pink purple combo. I think it looks cool. I'm gonna try to do a little bit of an overlap, but first I'm gonna go in with the purple wet and see if that improves my application. So this is a messy process because you're using fingers and really pigmented shadows. I don't know about you, but I feel like my eye wrinkles and veins are really exaggerated on this eye. Alright, so we're going to go back in with highlighter shade, and we're going to go in wet on the inner corner. And that is just really gorgeous. Really, really pretty kind of gradient happening on this side. Lower lash line color over here. So I'm actually going to go back in on the outer corner with my transition shade just to give some shape back, especially on this side where I kind of lost a bit of things, but I'm gonna be really careful not to disturb multichromes and their effect. This is like, if you like pink and purple, this is so pretty. My lips no longer match the look, I know. I'm gonna take this off. I'm gonna do some cleanup with some concealer, and then I'm gonna put on some lashes, and then I'll be back. Guys, if you're curious about what I applied on my lips, I applied Pat McGrath's luxetrance lipstick in the shade Beauty Junkie. I was searching around for like a cool tone pink, and I thought, oh yeah, I have this color. This is perfect for this look. And I topped it off with the Pat McGrath Pale Fire Nectar Lust Gloss, and this is the mini. And really just what I wanted to go for. They have little pink iridescent sparkles. So that's what I went for. Alright guys, I applied my new lipstick, I applied lashes, and this is the final multi-chrome look. I think this is a really pretty look. Of course, there's many different shades of multi-chromes you can get the shade that really fits your style. These are like different tones of purple, so this is kind of a more muted purple, where this is more pink and then sort of a royal purple on the outside. I think they're both really gorgeous. I think the end result is very pretty. I love the shift and the different color effect, and as you move and get in different lighting, it looks different. I think that's really cool. That's the whole point of multichrome, is that you get multiple colors out of one eyeshadow. It's a very like metallic finish, but there's different brands out there with different sort of extremes of finishes. It is definitely something you have to experiment with as far as how you apply it. It's not for everyone because I think they all kind of create some sort of fallout. You have to apply them in a really specific way, in my opinion. And I'm about to show you what it's like what these shadows look like when you apply them with a brush. There's no wrong way to apply makeup, but it definitely gives a different effect, and not as a strong effect if you apply these with a brush. So that can make things a little bit tricky for people, especially if you have, I don't know, different kinds of eye shapes. Applying with your finger can be harder, and if you want to get like really detailed and you like a blended out look, it can be really tricky to blend out these shades, because then it kind of diffuses the particles, and then that duochrome effect gets lost as you blend it out. So you really just want to have a concentrated amount of product in one spot, and that you can't really blend it out like a typical eyeshadow. You're gonna have to blend it out really with your fingers, and even so that can create some fallout. So you have to play around with these. They're not super simple, but the result I think is really beautiful and well worth it. It's just something you have to play with, and if you like makeup, I don't think it's going to be a problem for you. These aren't impossible shadows. You're going to figure it out. You're going to find a way. There is hope in the world. So I'm just going to swatch these on my arm with just a brush, a natural hair brush, to give you a sense of what they're like and what they can look like when blended out. So I'll show you with a blender brush. So Sydney Grace first, Twisted Shifter. This is the color on this eye. So I'm just going to use a brush and apply it on my arm. See that? I mean, any swatch isn't going to be great with a brush, in my opinion. But even like packing it on, you know, sort of trying to smooth it out. And I'll use a flat brush just to see if that works a little bit better. And let's see. I'm going to use the rougher 2 brush. This is pretty flat. And I'm going to go back in. It's not too bad. I mean, you're still getting a shift, but you can see it's just not as bold. Right? And I certainly could have done this on my eye, walked you through how it looks on the eye when you just kind of apply it like normal eyeshadow. But I already knew that going in, that it just doesn't work with a brush very well. And while you could layer and layer and layer and layer and tap and do 20 layers, it's just easier if you just use your finger. So that's what that looks like. I'm going to go into Clionadh and we're going to do Smolder to show you how that one works. And this one's a little bit bolder with the brush, for sure. And you can certainly try it when you first get one of these shades in your hands. I do encourage you to try it with a brush. I mean, you are getting multi-chrome effect for sure, but it just doesn't compare to the swatches where I use my finger, and I think same thing applies to your eyes. It's just not quite the same. And then I'll go into the purple flame blown shade. So you get some pigment. It looks, I mean, it's decent. And I'll just show you what it looks like when you blend out the edges. It kind of diffuses the multi-chrome effect. It just kind of, I don't know, takes away the top coating and leaves like the dark black underneath and kind of that gray kind of cast, which I don't find that pretty. So that's why I say, like, don't really blend these out. Leave them where they're at with your, where you apply them on your finger. And if you want some sort of blending, you can like barely touch it, but you're gonna want to put like a matte shade or whatever over it, like a normal shade, if you want some sort of transition, because I don't suggest really blending these out because you get this sort of gray effect when you blend them, because underneath all of this is like a dark blacker base. So this is the base that comes into light when you blend out. And just for, you know, experiment's sake, I'm gonna wet my brush and see if that works. Let's do Smolder. So slightly better. I think you could certainly get the brush to work better with this wet. But I just think you're going to be so tempted to want to blend this out with a brush, and then you get that smoke. Certainly try it. Try all the different ways of applying it. For me, I think for a lot of people, finger really works best. Try to create a look where you can keep it in a somewhat concentrated area where you don't feel like you have to blend it out. But yeah, I mean, that really gives you the more of the finish that you get with a finger, and you get more control. You can blend out somewhat, but it's not like as impactful as the shade has the potential to be. So that is kind of what I wanted to demonstrate for you guys, how these multi-chromes work. You know, these are indie brands that I've been showing you. That's on my eyes. These are expensive shades. I believe they're like at least $20 a piece for most of them. So that is not cheap. Some of the bigger brands are coming out with these kind of formulations, and a lot of people are saying, oh, this isn't new, this brand has it. Sure, of course. Totally get it. Like, you can get this stuff and not in the mainstream market, and it's cool. It's great. There's a lot of great formulations out there. I think Clionadh is really great. A lot of people know about her, that brand, because of Instagram. I know about that brand, I think, because of Instagram. Somehow I found it. Was it JD Glow Cosmetics has a lot. I haven't tried theirs yet, but they look really promising. There's a lot of brands out there that like really beautiful effects. they capture pretty well on camera that you just really want to buy all of them, and they just literally, you can create a whole metallic rainbow on your face. I mean, it's just insane, these formulations. That being said, I don't think we should hate on the bigger brands to try to get into that game. I think multichromes are more of a niche product still because they're not mainstream, they're more difficult to apply, and they're just a little bit more wild, a little bit more out there, even more so than like a glitter, which is too bad in my opinion, because to me these are prettier than a glitter. These just have an amazing effect that, I don't know, I just think everyone should enjoy, no matter where you get it. But, you know, Clionadh, I will say, just so you know, if you end up checking them out after seeing this video, if you've never heard of them, they are from Canada, and it can be quite an ordeal to get their products. You have to follow them on Instagram and read their posts thoroughly to know when new launches are happening and restocks are happening. They've really done really well with the multichromes. They really have a huge collection now of different formulas. I think it's amazing. I kind of got in on sort of the first round of multichromes, and then they came out with a whole bunch more this year and late last year. And I didn't buy any more just because I already have some, and they're expensive. And I just feel like while they are pretty, they're not going to be my everyday shades that I can really easily incorporate. I mean, these do take work. These don't take like 5 seconds. You have to take your time with these. So for me, they're just not, right now in my life, I'm not going to purchase a whole lot of them. But they are really cool and fun for parties and whatever, special occasions. But Clionadh, so if you do happen to get your hands on them, get in on a restock, they take an incredibly long time to come to you. It's a really small company. I think they're hiring more staff, but they take a while to fill your orders and ship to you. That's just what it is. You're going to find that with a lot of indie companies, but I think they're particularly slow because if you're in the US, they're in Canada, it takes a while for them to ship, and the shipping is not free. It costs a lot of money, so think about that. Sydney Grace, they're in Northern California. They did a small multi-chrome launch. I don't know what they're doing with that, if they're going to continue, if they're going to bring out more shades, if it was successful for them. I have really no idea. I haven't heard from them in a while, like as far as seeing any posts. Haven't seen anything new on that front, but they did have them for a minute. And I think they went out of stock pretty quickly. And I don't know if they're gonna restock again. No idea. I hope if they do, I hope they have some more shades. I think their formula could be refined a little more. I think their formula is a little bit thicker and rougher. Could be smoother. But I mean, it's on this side. I think it's still really, really pretty. I mean, I haven't even tried the other two shades. I think there was like a greenish blue one. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I'm all supportive of anybody that wants to do a multi-chrome. If Pat wants to do a multi-chrome, that's cool. I'm all for that. I really like her new palette that just got released. Or not out yet, but she just told everyone about it. It has a multi-chrome in it. It does look really pretty. People have been saying there's a Clionadh dupe for it. I don't have it. But, you know, I don't think anybody's copying anybody. I think people are curious about multichromes. I think big companies are curious about it. But it is a special shade. It is, I'm sure, much more difficult to make. more of a process? I have no idea. I'm not a chemist. I wish I knew how to make makeup. I think that's really cool. But anyways, I'm just rambling on and on and on. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any questions whatsoever. If you want like shade suggestions, I would just go with something you feel like you're gonna wear that you love. I think I would go for something probably blue-green or green-gold. I think those are really, you know, natural, wearable colors that if you have like gold or green in your collection, I don't think it's that much of a stretch to get something like that. Or if you're into purples or pinks, they always have those. They have blues, they have the whole rainbow, oranges and yellows. I think they're all really, really pretty. Just kind of stick to the color family you're comfortable with. They are a lot of money, so you're going to want to be choosy and pick something that's going to go with the rest of your collection. That's just my suggestion. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.